Hi, this is Randle. I am an animator and illustrator, and this is Coping Mechanisms, a show where we talk about difficult things while drawing things that make us feel good. It's like a little blankie for adults.
I love that.
So today I am drawing a a something that will make Steph feel better about anxiety.
Yay,
Yay,
anxiety.
anxiety.
Also, I feel the need to explain that it's not just Steph, but it's also Slugger and Bella, who are my aunt and uncle's dogs, who just got
Oh,
really,
yes.
really excited about life right now. So,
Well, dogs, animals are very, very good for anxiety.
yes,
I have
that is
found.
that is true.
That is absolutely true.
Oh my gosh.
So this is Steph. Say hi.
Hi.
Steph has her own podcast.
I do, with two of my friends. It's called A Blonde, a Brunette, and a Redhead, and I'm the redhead. And
She's definitely a redhead.
and we just talk about whatever, you
Yeah.
know. It started kind of as like a here are dating stories, and none of us date enough to keep that going, so it's evolving. Yeah.
That's fair enough. Well, I mean, yeah. Because it's like you have other things going on in your life.
Yeah, and people, it's been kind of incredible. People have already, I mean, we've only been going for a few months, and people already are sending us articles that they want to hear us talk about, or sending us
Yeah, it was
subject
interesting.
ideas.
Your latest episode actually like talked about maybe not so healthy coping mechanisms.
Right. Actually, it got into the
That was
ways,
really interesting.
that we numb our pain. And I thought it was kind of interesting coming out the day after World Mental Health Day, and
Yeah.
I thought it was pretty timely there.
Yes, for sure. So, today you and I get to talk about how to cope with anxiety, which is super, super fun.
Yeah.
So, I mean, any moment that you're just like, personal, a little too personal, I don't want to share. Feel free to just say that.
All right. Cool.
But yeah, like what is your sort of personal experience with anxiety? As I draw you a fox.
Yes, I'm very excited about the fox. Well, I have always been kind of an anxious type of person, which is funny because I've also always been like a really, the dog is sneezing. I've also been like a
That's
really
okay.
goofy person. And I think
Yeah.
often in our minds, we have this idea that like, if you're like fun loving and goofy, like that means you're free spirited. And if you're free spirited, then how on earth can you have anxiety? And so like,
Yeah.
I am all of the above. I am all of the above. And
Yeah.
so I've always kind of been like nervous, or I get nervous and I have like a really overactive imagination. And so it's always been chalked up to that. And then finally I realized, like, I think, gosh, it was probably about 7 years ago that I was realizing I'm having a hard time breathing. And when I was in college, we actually thought it was just like really bad asthma. Because
Yeah.
sometimes I would like literally have trouble breathing.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah, it's sorry.
yeah, no, go ahead.
No, it's one of those things where like I think people throw around anxiety is a thing that's like kind of getting it's a weird thing. It almost feels like a fad right now.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel that way? Because I have anxiety issues too.
Yeah, I because anxiety, I feel like is one of those things where there's capital A anxiety, and
Mm-hmm.
then there's like lowercase a anxiety, where like sometimes
Yes.
things happen and we feel anxious about them.
Yes.
And then there's like anxiety, which
Yeah.
is my brain chemistry and my body are wigging out
Yeah.
right now.
Yes. Absolutely. Like I don't know why I having a hard time breathing, or why
Hmm.
I feel like my heart is like gonna pound out of my chest, or
Whew,
like,
yeah.
yeah. And it's scary, and like it's really scary the first time it happens to you. Do you remember the first like anxiety, or do you have panic attacks or anxiety attacks?
I have anxiety attacks.
Yeah.
And God, I mean, I was in college when it got really bad when I was in college. I remember a friend, um, it was night. We were like running through a parking lot because why not? And I remember
Yeah.
this moment of being like, I can't breathe. Like, I was like trying to, like, I had to twist my ribs around to
Yeah.
try to get a full breath. And I remember this friend just being like, okay, his voice got like really calm. And he was like, you're going
Oh,
to be
wow.
okay. And
That's
everything's
great
going to
though.
be, it was great. It was really, really good to have him there because, you can't breathe. And then that makes you feel more stressed
More.
out.
Yep.
And so then you're just like gasping for breath. It was
Yeah.
fascinating. I've been to the doctor for this breathing thing a ton of times because they
Hmm.
thought maybe I had an enlarged heart and maybe it was asthma and maybe it was costal chondritis, which is inflammation of your ribs,
Hmm.
basically. Um, and then I went to therapy about a year ago. I started going about a year ago, and
Yeah.
in one session, my therapist was like, "Oh, that's what this is. This is an anxiety response, and let me give you some things to do." I haven't had that since.
Oh,
Like,
really?
yeah,
Wow. That's amazing.
it was pretty
Yeah.
incredible.
That's an incredible like
Hmm.
response.
Yeah.
What advice I'm sorry, like what did your doctor sorry, your
Hmm.
therapist recommend? Was it more like cognitive behavioral therapy, or is it like a mixture of medication, or cuz I'm on two medications.
Okay.
Um but
Um, I am currently not on medication. I have found that the mix of counseling and certain um, I don't want to say like lifestyle habits because that's like a buzzword, but
yeah.
there I have found different ways of coping with this
Yes.
anxiety, and thankfully it's mild enough that at this point I don't have to have anxiety or have take medication for it. But
Yeah.
that's kind of always on the table. I have in the past I've been on antidepressants, and so it's certainly a thing
Yeah.
that I'm like, well, this is a tool that's in the toolbox, and if
Yeah.
we need to use it, then we use it.
I know.
Um,
Well, there's
but
such
so
a it's such a weird thing because there's such a stigma about like getting to the point where you have to like I have to like wait until like it gets bad enough that
right,
I have to take the medication. Because
right,
because nobody wants to be on medication for forever, right? Like,
no,
and these are it's a weird thing because it's like, well, I'm never gonna I have to accept that this is just how my brain works, so that's not gonna change.
yeah,
But like at the same time, I'm not going to be on medication for this forever, am I? Like or like, you try to avoid it at all costs, or at least I have definitely have. Um I've gotten to a place numerous times where I was just like, no, I can't cope on my own.
hmm,
Like I'm just gonna say it. And like right now I have, the daily medication, which is, anti-anxiety, antidepressant, and then I have like the acute like panic attack meds, which
hmm,
I don't use very often. It's almost like having them is itself like, a medication. It's like
yeah.
a placebo effect just knowing that I have it.
You have that. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
your safety net, right? Like
Yeah.
you know that you'll be okay. And that I think that's incredible. I
Yeah.
love that. I have found that there are certain things that make my anxiety more intense.
Yeah.
And so like that is stuff where it's like if I don't get enough sleep or um if
Yeah.
I like eat certain foods. I found typically like
Hmm.
all the yummy, delicious, like sweets and all that good stuff. If I
Uh-huh.
eat them, it like fully messes with my brain. I mean,
Huh.
to the extent of also like I am more anxious, like I have the physical symptoms of anxiety with the like, the knot in your stomach and the difficulty
Yeah.
breathing. Um,
Yeah.
but then I'm also sad, like very sad for sometimes up to 3 days.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. I also feel really guilty. I mean, I have a husband, so like I share this sort of space with my husband, and like when I have an anxiety attack, because most of mine are anxiety attacks. I've had a panic attack, but it's not it's rare.
Hmm.
It's usually after I've only ever had those after like extremely traumatic sort of experiences. Um like getting abducted at gunpoint.
That'll do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that makes
uh
sense.
but but besides that, it's mostly just been, the standard kind of. I love that it's the
Yeah,
standard kind
right.
of
You know.
anxiety attack, difficulty breathing, and everything.
Hmm.
And as soon as that starts, onset, like I also start feeling guilty because I'm like, I am making like our home and like feel, I don't know, like my
Well,
husband is scared for me. And I'm like, I don't know how to help you. I don't know how to help you tell, like, help me. Like, it's a really weird space where I'm like, how do I help you make feel better when the only thing that'll make you feel better is if I feel better.
yeah, and
It's
you're like,
like
and
this
that's just
feedback
not.
loop,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, it's like you're stuck at. That is a hard space to be in, and I am sorry. Just hey, 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 hey. It's okay. They do this. They like start play fighting, and then all of a sudden it turns real, and so
Oh,
then
no, you gotta
that's.
stop it.
I'm trying to
Gotta,
stop it before it gets to
before
that
it gets
because
real.
yeah. Okay. So now that the dogs are hopefully hanging out and being okay, I think I was talking
Yes.
about how I don't share a space with anybody else right now.
Oh, yeah.
Which I wonder sometimes. I mean, that lets me kind of like go through it without
Mm-hmm.
having that on my mind because yeah, I think guilt. I mean, I just feel guilty anyway about a lot of things, which that is like a
Yeah,
whole
I mean
nother.
that's a whole other episode, is societal guilt that women
Ugh,
are made to feel,
I hate it.
about burdening
It's
others.
so frustrating because you know it's there
You
and then you
know,
still feel it.
that's
Yeah.
what's happening.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um
Yep.
anyway, but I am able to kind of go through my like anxiety blurgs on my own. I
Mm.
almost think of it as like it's this prickly little ball that sits on my shoulder and every once in a while it like sits on me and then I'm like I'm anxious and then it's
Uh-huh.
depending on my situation, I either completely withdraw into myself or I
Yeah.
become like Chris Evans on a talk show, like crazy, like over the top. I don't even know why, like compensating. Hopefully, people won't notice that I'm feeling anxious if I draw all the attention to myself possible. It's like the weirdest.
Ah, gotcha.
It's weird.
Huh. That's
Yeah.
interesting. Yeah, I've done that before. Yeah. That's usually if I'm in a social situation.
Right. Right.
That I go into like super like extreme social butterfly mode where I'm like, oh yeah, I can totally talk to anybody about
Hmm.
anything, and I'm like,
Right. And you
internally.
feel a little bit like it's a train that's like out of control, right? Like you
Yeah.
feel like
Yeah.
you're on it and you started it and you're kind of like
Hmm.
out of control of the situation a little bit.
Yeah. You're like, why am I doing this? Why am I doing
Yeah.
this? Stop!
Yeah.
Stop!
No, this is not what
Yeah.
was
Like
supposed to happen.
yeah. You're like, really? All I want to do is curl up in the corner, but I
Uh-huh.
can't. Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you what do you do, like, I mean, lifestyle wise?
Mhm.
So like there are a lot of lifestyle like things that you can do to, like, I don't know, calm yourself. I like I'm really wary, and especially it was funny listening to like your latest podcast. I was like, yeah, there are certain coping mechanisms that you have to be aware of,
Mm-hmm.
that you have to keep an eye on. So like substance abuse
Right.
is a big one. Um, I am like, I have that like Xanax prescription, and I am fully aware of how dangerous that can be.
Mm-hmm.
and and I really try to like, you know, be aware of that, and like, and instead, I don't know, I'll go for a walk. And
Mm-hmm.
luckily I live in Santa Barbara right now,
Right.
so going for a walk is always an option.
Mm-hmm.
um but I don't know, what, like, any lifestyle, like,
Yeah. There are the things kind of like with what you were talking about with the medication. I have things that are like if I am consistent, these help in terms of mitigating the anxiety.
yeah,
And then I have the like in the moment, here's how I deal with it. So like
yeah,
so there's the like consistent things. Those are the like stereotypical like I have to make sure I'm in bed early regularly, so like I'm a
yeah,
grandma basically because I go to bed freaking early. And like if I avoid certain foods in general, like I don't like making any rule like I can never have this because I think that becomes its own
yeah,
unhealthy coping mechanism. But like in
yep,
general, if I stick to just like what I think of as like the stuff you get on the perimeter of the grocery store, right? Like
mm-hmm,
that's closer to its natural state. Obviously not always in its natural state because otherwise there would be like animals in the deli department. But like less processed foods.
less processed foods,
And
yes.
if I things like cutting caffeine off at a certain point of the day, which I hate doing.
uh
I hate doing.
I am actually really good at that, and I think it's because I work at
I can see that.
Starbucks.
I can see that.
It's just like, it's funny because like Colin, my husband,
Mhm.
um, he always, like, he has a very different like morning routine than I do,
Yeah.
and because he always gets to like wake up
Mhm.
and drink his coffee and eat his breakfast at home, and I am usually at work at 4 in the morning. So like, no, I'm not gonna get up in order in time to
Right.
like be awake and alert and all of those things
You'd be up at like 2.
before 4 in the morning.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm not gonna do
Mm-mm.
that. Let's not try to make that a reality.
No.
Um, and so like when I have a day off or something, and we're oh God, that's the wrong layer. I'm screwing up my
Oh,
layers.
well,
That's
I'm
okay.
impressed. So
Um,
it
like
looks so good.
he's always like, you don't really drink that much coffee anymore, do you? And I was like, not when I'm home. When I'm home, it's pretty much like I no.
You're like I'm
I need coffee to get through my day at
mhm.
work, and then I will drink, I will drink water or something else to a certain point, and then, at a certain point in the evening, I'm like, okay, now it's like, acceptable to have
Right.
like a drink.
Mhm.
But
It's so funny because I mean this is dangerously close to derailing us onto a different topic, so I won't do that.
oh, that's
But
okay.
but I coffee for me is such an emotional thing because like my grandparents actually used to roast their own coffee beans in their garage.
Oh, really?
And so going over to their house when I was a kid, you would smell the coffee. Like everything in their
Yeah,
house smelled like coffee. And like my
yeah,
grandfather um, will still like make they have an espresso machine and they have their coffee beans that they roast, and he'll make like a latte ish. He does sometimes it's just an espresso shot, sometimes it's a latte.
yeah.
before then going to meet up with other people at the coffee shop where he then gets more coffee.
Yeah.
So like there's a definite emotional element of like it's comforting, and aside from like the
Yep.
heat and the smell are
Yeah.
anyway very pleasant, there's like
Yes.
this nostalgic like safe feeling when I
Yeah.
have coffee. And so I'll often like reheat the same cup of coffee several times, or I'll like top off a cup of coffee. And so I'm probably only having two, maybe 2.5 cups when I'm at work. But
Yeah.
people are like, you drink so much coffee, you have so much coffee.
And you're like, you have no
Like
idea.
really?
Look at
Yeah,
my
I know.
grandparents.
Right. I usually say like, oh, I come by it honestly.
Yeah.
Um,
That works.
yeah, but so that if I kind of cool it on the caffeine, I'm generally okay. But in the moment, I find if I can find something to do, um,
Yeah.
that helps, because my experience with anxiety is generally, um, the way my therapist put it, he was paraphrasing. I don't remember who he paraphrased, but he said anxiety is the space between now and the future. And so, like I get
Mm-hmm.
so
Yeah, I mean, it's very much about what, imagining horrible
right,
possibilities, right?
right. And it's like the
Yeah.
catastrophic thinking, like
Yeah.
it's going to be the worst case scenario no matter what, which it
Yeah.
sometimes is, but often is not.
Sometimes it
Yeah,
is.
sometimes it is. And
Sometimes.
then you're like, okay, I can see, that's the thing too. Even if it is something really hard, I can deal with that. Like I can do hard things. It's the like anticipating hard things that is
Yeah. It's
anxiety.
like, but I don't want the hard
Right.
things to happen.
Right.
Yeah.
It's I'm a little bit kind of along these same lines. I'm a little bit of a hypochondriac, and it's because
Mm-hmm.
I can imagine all these possible outcomes. And
Yeah.
then, and thankfully like my health has been good. Like I am in good health,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
so it's not like I'm facing things that a lot of other people have to face. But I have had shingles a couple of times. Uh,
Oh, ow.
right.
My grandma had shingles and not
And
pleasant.
it's either you get it if you're old or if you're stressed. So it's like totally an
Mm-hmm.
anxiety
Yeah.
manifestation. Um, and it was funny because my mom is a nurse practitioner. And so when I was showing her the initial spots, she was like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, I don't want you to freak out, but it's shingles. It looks like shingles. And as soon as she like gave me a diagnosis, I was like, okay, like I can
It's
handle
not as
this.
it's not as scary once it's
Yeah.
diagnosed.
And so,
Yeah.
granted, that's shingles. It's not some bigger, more frightening thing.
Yeah.
But it kind of was like, it made me laugh that she was like, I know you're going to freak out about this. And I was like, no, 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 no. I can handle this. Like, having an answer is good.
Yeah.
So,
That's interesting. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I get that way around about medicine too. Like, I avoid going to the doctor at all costs because okay, there are a couple of reasons. One is that I have like a lot of anxiety about making like appointments and
hmm
making phone call sort of things. Do you get that
yeah,
at
I
all, or is
hate
that
the
just me?
phone. Okay, today I actually drove to the mechanic in person to make an appointment to have my car serviced because I preferred that over picking up the phone and calling.
Yes. Oh my gosh, for the longest time I was just like, no, I'm going to have I'm I'm going to be an old school banker. Like I'm gonna I prefer to bank at the bank
hmm
with a person and talk to them
hmm
because I also have a lot of anxiety about money, and that just happens to come from like never being
Right.
like financially
Like
comfortable,
flesh. Yeah.
like being just a few steps away from
hmm
like not like a support network away
Isn't
from
it crazy? Like there are
yeah,
times when, and when I was living in Santa Barbara, which has a very large homeless population, there would be times when I
yeah,
would think like, oh my gosh, that is me,
That
except for the fact that I have people who
Yep.
will catch me, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
I have yeah, I definitely have friends who have been homeless, and I'm just like, yeah,
Mm.
that's well, I can imagine getting to that point. And yet I also can't. Like I have like this huge it's like I've never been quite there, and I've never felt that unsecure. So it's like yeah,
Mhm.
it's a strange. I don't know what is going on with the perspective in this drawing, but I'll fix
Oh,
it.
I am loving it. Are you kidding me? The
I'm like, which
ignorance.
the school stool is sitting this way, but then the table
Oh
is
my
over
gosh. I am I am in love with this little fox, so it's okay. um
That's okay. I just wanted to draw you something that makes you feel better, because you we can wrap up. I just wanted to like chat with you about anxiety and issues. You know, I just I also like it took me a long time to go to a therapist. Like to admit to I the only times I've ever been um to a therapist have been when like it's been so extreme that my husband was just, or my boyfriend at the time, depending, was just like, no,
yeah.
that you are not going to continue feeling this way. Um,
And that's
and uh, I think you need to talk to somebody because I can't answer all these problems for you.
right.
And I was like, okay.
Yeah.
And that anxiety of like making the appointment
Oh
hits
man.
and the like, what if I don't like this person,
Mhm.
or like that's another thing. um and also like I less so after the first time you go see a therapist, um which I recommend people just
I
do
think
for once,
everyone
just
should.
once.
Every person.
Everyone should. It's it's shocking like how easy it is and how useful it is. I say, as I don't currently have a therapist. I have a psychiatrist, but I don't have a therapist. I need to find one. The last one I had was no good, so
mm.
I'm just
Mhm.
it's that fear of, I have such a huge problem um breaking up with therapists that I don't work for me. Even though it's like, it's a professional relationship and everything like that, but I just still feel so like, oh no, I should give them a chance,
Mhm.
or especially if you're feeling vulnerable, like the inclination to just kind of trust somebody's like medical opinion, right? Like
Mhm.
this idea of it being a medical opinion and like you're an authority figure. And I, I just wanted to trust them, and even when they were not helping me.
Mm. Mhm.
um and yeah, so I don't know. The mental health system is fraught with a lot of issues, and one of them is just the stigma of like not going, like against going,
Right.
and at all.
Well,
And
right, because it's like there's something wrong. Like if you do
yeah, or
this,
that you failed.
yeah.
Like you can't fix this on your own. You can't like buck up and
Yeah,
and just
just
do
pull
it.
yourself up by your bootstraps, right? Ugh.
Yeah. And I'm like, I can't, but I can't breathe.
Yeah, I am actually
Like, but I
drowning.
can't,
I am
but
drowning.
I actually, yeah, like, but actually I can't breathe, and this happens to me like once every like 2 weeks.
Yeah. And
It's like, yeah,
it's interesting because I just moved
yeah,
to Nashville a couple months ago, and as
yeah,
you know, and
I do.
one of the
I'm very sad about
I
it, but I'm
know.
happy for you.
Thanks. One of the things that I found is
Yeah,
here,
layers.
specifically with the people that I work with, who are wonderful people. I mean, sweet, kind people who really believe in what they're doing, and I work at a private boys' school. Okay, so there are times when I'm like, I literally work for the patriarchy, and I'm not sure how I feel about that. But you know, it's
Yeah.
I have to pay my bills.
But
I have to pay my bills.
you can also look at it like you're helping boys kind of.
That's true. I am definitely offering an alternate perspective, I suppose, in
Yes.
conversations.
Yes.
And one of the things, though, that I have noticed is that there's definitely like this idea of the steel magnolia in the South, like this super strong woman who, no matter how bad things get, will always hold
Always
her
pulls
chin
through.
high and pull through.
Mm-hmm.
It's on the one hand, it's like, wow, I really admire the strength of these women. On the other hand, like
Mm-hmm.
I mentioned to one of my coworkers that I have an anxiety disorder, that I have been diagnosed with an anxiety disorder, and that I went to therapy. And you could see her discomfort with that idea of with me
Yeah.
saying to her, I actually I actually have an anxiety disorder. And then so I immediately was like, it's it's under control, like it's being treated. I like went to therapy, and I found ways of coping with it that keep me from feeling this
Yeah.
horrible anxiety all the time. But it was a really interesting moment of being like, oh, okay, we don't talk about that here. Okay.
No.
Oh,
No.
hey,
Puppies.
doggos, you're okay. Yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So that's why we talk
Yes,
about it.
we have to
And
talk
that's why I'm
about it.
talking about it. And that's why I'm very glad that you could come on and talk about it with me. Talk
Mm.
with it about me.
I
That's
could
not
do
how
that.
that
I
works.
could talk with my anxiety
Yeah.
about you. I mean, I
Well, you did say it's like a little cloud
yeah,
that hovers over your
right?
head, or like,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Oh my gosh,
that works.
this
That
dog
works.
is chewing up. Oh well, it's chewed. Okay.
It's chewed. It's
It's
done.
chewed.
The dog has
The
won.
dog definitely won that one, but okay.
All
That's
right.
fine.
I'm gonna give you a shadow, and then I will color this baby in, and it
Yeah.
is all
Oh my
yours.
goodness. It
And I will send it to you. Ooh, wow, that was a little dark. I'll fix that.
Oh my gosh. This is so cool.
There's your little foxy.
Yay! Oh my goodness.
I should mention that she asked me to draw her a fox. Why did you ask for a fox? I know you asked for the fox that was writing.
Yeah.
Because you are a writer, and she has written a novel, which is very good.
Oh, thanks.
And she is writing another
I am,
one,
and I'm
which is
like
very exciting.
2/3 of the way done with the draft, so I'm very excited about that.
Woohoo! Very
Yeah, I'm
exciting.
hoping to have it ready for beta readers by like the new year. So, if you know of any
Yeah.
illustrators
Anyone
who
who wants
are,
to read anything,
yeah,
anywhere,
uh,
comment section.
yeah, yeah, right. But
Yes.
yeah, okay, so I'm like super into foxes lately, and I was thinking about
I
this.
just assumed it was because you were a redhead.
That's a big part of it, is because I'm a redhead. And then I also think about like the fox with its like kind of not jittery energy, but like if you've ever like foxes are known for being clever, but if you really watch them, they're like, I feel like they're nervous all the time. And so when I was thinking like, why did I ask for a fox? I feel like because I am kind of a fox. Like,
Yeah.
I'm a fox, hey, but also
Foxy lady.
in the like, I've got red hair, and I kind of have this like nervous thing going on, and I don't know. It suits. Yeah. It feels like it fits.
Hey man, whatever animal makes you smile, that's what we're here for.
Yeah. Yay.
Yeah. Colin wanted a dinosaur, you get a fox.
I love it.
That's how this goes. Yeah. All right. And I think we're gonna leave it there, and I'll edit in the fade to color. And yeah, and I'll send you the file when I'm done.
Yay!
Yay! If anybody out there has a subject that they want me to talk about, leave me a comment, and y'all should check out Steph's podcast with her friends, a blonde, a brunette, and a redhead. And Yeah. Have a good day.